Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report and happy Veterans Day, especially to those who have served. Ballot counting drags on into the fourth day in Arizona and Nevada. Republicans are inching closer to claiming victory in the House, but it's down to the wire as to which party will take the Senate. NTD's Melina Wisecup has some updates for us. Melina, please tell us what's the latest.
Yeah, Steve, so according to the latest results, Republicans are still holding strong in the House. They've secured 211 seats compared to Democrats' 196. So Republicans just need to gain 7 more seats in order to take control of the chamber. Now, that's still a very small margin of control for the House, but the margin is even smaller for the Senate. There are 3 outstanding races in the Senate right now, and Republicans would need to win 2 of those 3 races in order to gain control of that chamber. Now, we know these races are in Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona. Georgia, of course, is going to a runoff election. Arizona still has hundreds of thousands of ballots left to count. And for Nevada, their most populous county, still has around 50,000 ballots left to count as of today. And Nevada is still accepting mail-in ballots, so we may not know the results for these key races until sometime next week, but hopefully we'll know a bit sooner. Steve?
So, Melina, it's looking like Democrats may win the seat in Arizona. What does this indicate about how the balance of power is looking like in the Senate? And should we expect to see any recounts in any of these states?
Yeah, Steve, so that's definitely a possibility. According to Arizona's law, if the margin between the 2 candidates is less than 0.5%, then they will have to have an automatic recount. But that's not looking like it's the case according to the latest data. The difference between Kelly and Masters is much larger than that. It's around 5 percentage points, but the margin is much closer in the state of Nevada. The difference between the 2 candidates, according to the latest data, is about less than a percentage point. In this state, Nevada does not require an automatic recount, but candidates can request it. So that's definitely a possibility. And Nevada is definitely a key race we do want to be looking at as far as which direction the balance of power is headed. And I say that because, as we see from the latest results, and like you mentioned, Arizona is leaning more in Democrats' favor. Now, if Democrats do take Arizona and they do win Nevada, then Republicans don't have any chance of taking control of the Senate. But if Republicans do win the state of Nevada, then we will only be looking at the state of Georgia, and that will become a nail-biter race because we will have to wait until the December runoff to find out which party will be controlling the upper chamber. Steve, back to you.
Republicans look poised to regain control of the House, but will Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy become Speaker? Republican Congressman Bob Good said on Fox News last night that McCarthy should expect a challenge from within his party.
He's essentially had a 2-year audition where he had the exclusive opportunity to earn the vote of the conference to demonstrate that he was willing to fight against the Biden, Pelosi, Schumer agenda, and he failed to do that. And all across the country, Republican voters continue to tell me and other members of Congress and candidates that they don't support Kevin McCarthy because he's not a true conservative.
Good said McCarthy's only priority the past 2 years has seemed to be to win the majority and become Speaker, just for the sake of having the majority and speakership. Good listed several examples of McCarthy failing to support conservative initiatives, such as requiring the House to record individual votes, trying to remove Nancy Pelosi as House Speaker, and blocking the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023. The GOP is expected to have a slim majority in the House, which means in order to become Speaker, McCarthy will likely need almost all Republicans to support him. Biden has been touting his student loan cancellation program as a relief for the American people. But starting today, it's no longer taking applications. NTD's Iris Tao has more on what is going on.
The Biden administration has stopped taking applications for a student loan cancellation program. That's after a court ruled on Thursday evening that Biden's plan was illegal. And now on the application website, the original form is down and a note is up saying past applications will be put on hold while the administration seeks to overturn court orders. In mid-October, Biden announced his plan to cancel up to $20,000 worth of student debt for millions of borrowers. And here's Biden touting it while campaigning for Democrats days before the midterms.
This is a game changer for so many people. And folks, despite what Republican officials say, we can afford the student loan program.
It's also among the first things Biden brought up in a speech right after the election.
And I especially want to thank the young people of this nation who, I'm told, I haven't seen the numbers, voted historic numbers again. They voted to continue addressing the climate crisis, gun violence, their personal rights and freedoms, and the student debt relief.
The Thursday block comes after a federal judge in Texas rejected Biden's executive action, writing in his 26-page ruling, quote, "In this country, we're not ruled by an all-powerful executive with a pen and a phone." A separate court order put the program on hold weeks ago, but the administration still encouraged borrowers to keep applying regardless, as Biden previously vowed.
Fighting them in court, we're not letting them get away with it.
After the latest legal setback, the White House says it strongly disagreed with the decision, adding the Justice Department is appealing it. So far, some 26 million people have applied for debt cancellation, and 16 million requests have been approved. But now all they can do is to wait, as it could take months for the court to issue a final ruling on if they're getting anything. Reporting by Iris Tao, NTD News.
Welcome back to NTD's Capital Report. I'm Steve Lance. And to assess the state of politics and the fallout from the midterms, as well as the former president's scathing statement aimed at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, we have Florida resident and political strategist Roger Stone. Roger Stone, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Roger, it's great to have you back. Before we delve into the details, big picture, what's your postmortem on the election and what are the results telling you thus far?
Well, I must say that I'm disappointed, but I'm also not surprised. As of this moment, we're still not certain that we even have a majority in the House. It appears that we're waiting for the results of a number of races on the West Coast, which seem to be taking an extraordinarily long time to count. But it appears to me overall that the red wave turned out to be a red drizzle. I really do think that there are legitimate claims of voter manipulation in Michigan, in Arizona, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. Mike Lindell really did plot this out in real time. Just like 2020, you see these unexplained enormous ballot drops in the middle of the night. I really don't think we've cleaned up our election machinery. And I think that is partially to explain for the results as we know them now. But as of this moment, it is possible to have a majority in both the House and the Senate. We still don't know.
So aside from the potential election fraud, which is surely still on the table, are there any policy issues, other issues, why you think that Republicans came up shorter than expectations?
Yes, I guess I would have to say media coverage of the entire scene. I mean, our largest single problem in the country today is that all mass communications are either controlled or censored. So while the polls tell us that what the voters were concerned about were record gas prices, food shortages, inflation ravaging the buying power of the dollar, the shipping by our government of billions of dollars abroad so we could fight over the borders of foreign countries, but not spending what it takes to seal our own border and end what is a crime and drug epidemic. The voters tell us that's what they're interested in, but that's not what the dominant mainstream media wants to talk about. So I really think that the results of this election reflect the censorship and control of the mass media in this country, because the results of the elections don't match what the voters told pollsters going into the election they were concerned about.
I want to ask you about former President Trump. He just came out with a scathing statement against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Is this the right move for him?
Well, first of all, everything the president said is correct. I mean, Governor Ron DeSantis was an unknown congressman whose campaign for governor was mired in single digits. The entire Florida Republican establishment, all 67 Republican county chairmen, every single elected Republican in the state House and the state Senate, and every member of the congressional delegation, Republicans, had endorsed Ron DeSantis's opponent. If it weren't for Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis would be working in a Dairy Queen right now. So I think the president is rightly disappointed in the lack of loyalty and gratitude displayed by Governor DeSantis. On the other hand, the U.S. Senate is up for grabs right now. I'd like to see both President Trump and Governor DeSantis, both of whom have millions of dollars at their disposal in federal political action committees, put that money into Georgia to try to seize control of the U.S. Senate, for example. So I agree with the president. I really think everybody was tipped off to this in the debate when pressed 3 separate times by former Governor Charlie Crist, the Democrat. Governor DeSantis refused to rule out a presidential bid. What about the voters of Florida? I mean, they just hired Ron DeSantis to do a job. What about them? Are they going to be left behind? So while his timing may not be perfect, I agree with everything the president said.
So does the former president announce his bid next Tuesday with the highly anticipated press conference that he scheduled? And if so, what is DeSantis's next move?
I must tell you, I don't have firsthand knowledge of the president's plans. I have not talked to him this week. I spoke to him earlier. I got the impression that there was an announcement coming soon, but I'm not going to I'm not going to speculate, I guess I should say. Governor DeSantis has the luxury of waiting. Look, none of us knew that both the House or the Senate was going to be up for grabs at this point. We really thought these would be decided matters. So I think the president should, if he is planning an announcement, he might want to reconsider the timing slightly. But here's the only important thing to me. If Donald Trump runs, he is the only challenge to the government media cabal that has been running this country.
Roger, a lot of people have said that DeSantis may make a good VP if the former president decides to run. What are your thoughts on that possibility? And at this point, is there still room for that, or is the blood too bad between the two?
The rules of the Electoral College effectively prohibit 2 men or 2 people from the same state of being on the ticket. While it is not specifically prohibited, if a ticket or a party nominated 2 people from Florida and that ticket carried Florida, under the rules of the Electoral College, the Republicans would forfeit the 30 electoral votes of Florida in the balloting of the Electoral College. So I think it is unrealistic. For those who say, well, Donald Trump can just shift his formal residence back to New York or New Jersey, why would he want to pay those confiscatory income tax rates when Florida has no income tax? So I think a Trump-DeSantis ticket is essentially a legal impossibility.
Really fascinating stuff. Roger Stone, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Now, you may not know that there's around 150,000 Native American veterans. Washington, D.C. recently opened a memorial to honor them. And for the first time this year, veterans were able to celebrate at the site. NTD was there.
Native Americans from across the country came to D.C. for a first-of-its-kind Veterans Day celebration.
You know, it means so much to me to be here in memory of all the veterans before me and that will come after me.
I have a piece of everybody in my family on my regalia to be able to not just be me. It's also everybody in my family is here today to represent. And it's like a hard thing for me not to cry because, you know, I'm just a small fry in this big world.
For many of the veterans we spoke with, serving the country and protecting the homeland is a tradition that runs through their families.
My family's been pretty much in the military most of their life, and I thought it was my turn, so I went in when I was 17 years old. And I spent 6 years in.
My own older siblings, my 2 sisters, they're also veterans as well. And my one sister, Jessica, she is actually a Bronze Star recipient, so.
The Native American Veterans Memorial was just opened in D.C. in 2020, and due to the pandemic, the area wasn't open for the past 2 years. So for many, today is their first time seeing it. Dressed in traditional regalia, a group of around 1,700 Native American veterans representing 125 tribes walked in a parade across from the nation's capital. Lindrith Palmer, who served in the Vietnam War, expresses optimism for the unity and respect that today represents.
And like many of us, we're descendants of the warriors of our past who protected our people and our land. With each and every one of us, the good Lord gave us a spirit that we should love one another, respect one another.
30,000 indigenous people are actively serving in the military. And even as clouds took over the sky, the group kept spirits high, putting their culture on full display for bystanders. Robert Short is a Marines veteran who is in the Kiowa tribe in Oklahoma. He tells NTD that serving the country was an honorable way of life.
We protect the precious values of life so we can all enjoy freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and the freedoms that we enjoy as American citizens.
Values that will continue to be honored by Native American veterans for years to come. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.